Going live. Hello. Welcome. If you're here for the first time, warm welcome to CrossYoga Europe. This is our channel where we offer a lot of different kinds of videos, all Christ-centered, and this is also the focus of today's class. So if you're here, let me know if my sound goes through, and if you can hear a little bit of music, shouldn't be too loud. So let me know if it's overwhelming as you jump online. I'm going to change it a little bit here. So if you are ready, just find a comfortable seated position on the mat and sit until we get here. Just waiting for people to join in. And always leave a comment. It's just so nice to know where you're from and if you're from the teacher training. So this is actually a part of our online CrossYoga teacher training that we do, that I do these classes. So instead of doing it at Zoom, I thought, why not do it for the benefit of just, everybody who want to join in. Yeah. So there's a comment field on your left side, I should guess, if you go online. So let me know if the sound is too loud or if you can't hear me. I'm just going to do last check on stuff up here to see if it's all going well. Alrighty. So today is going to be a slow class, and I'm just looking forward to it. It will be about the wisdom of Christ. So I've done a lot of these classes in a series for 2 months or more, maybe. And I'm not really sure when to stop because there's just so much that I want to dive into the wisdom of Christ in the Bible. And today I have the message version. I like that, just to spice things up a little bit. It seems to me like a devotional book. But anyway, the wisdom of Christ is deep, and I keep being amazed about what Jesus actually did. If you just read the Bible and don't know a whole lot about it, you'll probably be a little bit sure he said some cool stuff, and maybe some of it you'll be like, I don't know. What's so special about that? And that's why I like to give you a little bit of cultural and historical context when I go through these different readings that I do. Awesome. I see a few online, and remember to type in. Maybe it's just me who can't see a lot of things, but anyway, find your way on the mat here. And those of you who are on the teacher training, if there's anything with the sound and everything, you might as well message me, then I'll fix it. So welcome this Saturday morning. I'm so pleased to see you here. If you need a block, you might find one. It's always nice if the floor is far away from you. So my name is still Ria, and I'm the host of this channel and the leader of CrossYoga and also the lead trainer of trainings. And today I'll guide you through a slow class, which means that after warming up, we'll spend maybe 5 to 10 breaths in each posture, getting into the sensations of the body, maybe some reflections, just opening up everything here, feeling good in our bodies, feeling sweaty, maybe. And we'll, of course, wrap up the class with some stretching and finishing resting and meditation at the end. So I hope that all sounds good. Somehow, you can sit for a bit. That's great. And then close your eyes. Maybe you move your neck, your spine a little, eyes closed. And when you feel comfortable in your own skin, fill your belly, or so it feels at least, your lungs with air. Expand them and exhale slowly out through your mouth. Do that one more time. Big inhale. Keep inhaling. And exhale out. And from there, breathe normally. Leaving behind what happened yesterday or this morning even. Leaving in the future what is to come this day or the days to come. And focus on this moment and your breath. Maybe you picture God, or however you want to picture God, giving you every inhale as a present. And receiving every exhale, the out breath. So inhale the life of God. Inhale God's grace. Inhale God's strength. And inhale God's freedom. And keep inhaling slowly for a moment more. And if you're ready, move seated still, whatever you need to move. That can be your spine, your neck, shoulders for that matter, arms. So free postures of movement slowly. Preparing yourself for postures. Drawing in your breath deeply. And remember, as we move on the mats in this postures of today, it's not about thinking holy things or feeling in a certain way or doing the poses right. It's simply about picturing yourself loved by God, standing in God's grace, moving as suits your body today. Maybe you want to do it more slowly or not as hard or as deep as you could. So notice what your body feels and listen in. Before we move into down dog, fold your hand or grasp your hands in front of your chest. And then draw your palms out, probably towards me. Stretch out, shoot your back. Take your chest towards your chin towards your chest. And then sit with a tall spine as you draw your palms in towards your chest. Maybe touch your chest if that makes sense. And then use your out breath as you move back. Move your hands out. Inhale as you sit tall. And keep doing that for a little bit. We will be moving our bodies before I read a text. It's just very short. And then we'll rest for a little bit when I read the text. But you need to know a little bit of context. So back in the days, there was a lot of diseases, of course. And one of those that were somewhat common was leprosy. I believe it was a nerve disease. You can stop moving your hands and found down dog as you might be listening. So spread out your fingers, move your hip up and back, and paddle your feet, bending one knee at a time. So leprosy was, I think, a nerve disease, and it was very contagious. So you couldn't touch people with leprosy because then you would get that yourself. And in the long run, it is a fatal disease, so you would die from it. So everybody who got this leprosy, they would be excommunicated. That's hard to say. They would be moved out of the city, away, living out as beggars out in the city, and nobody would touch them. Maybe people will bring them some food, but that's it. So they were living somewhat alone. Now move your feet to the top end of the mat. Hip width distance, still 2 fists somewhat in between your feet. Take a hold of your elbows, relax your neck, bend your knees, and then sway slowly from side to side. So that's one thing that you need to know. The second thing is that disease is often, back in the days, as it was in many religions, and maybe still is today, if you get sick, it's because you did something wrong. It's because of your bad choices. It's because of your sin, as it would be in the Bible. It's because of lots of different things. So back in the day, and maybe today, if you're sick, it was often looked at, well, that's your own fault. You must have done something to upset God. So just know that. Have that in the back of your head. All right, relax your arms, move into mountain pose, slowly coming up. Standing tall. So let's warm up with a little bit of a flow sequence, and then we'll slow down as it is with a slow class. Take your arms out to the side, spread it out like a cross. And then take your palms together. Grasp your hands as we did before, but just standing this time. Shoot your spine back, round your back. Then reach your arms up, palms facing up, bending your elbows ever so gently, and lean back, looking up, small back bend. Bending your knees, moving into forward fold. Now let your fingers reach the floor. You can always do that if you've bent your knees enough. Move your right leg to the back. Warrior one, which means the back foot is somewhat 45 degrees out to the side, the front knee And ankle is stacked. Look to the front and then rise up. Shorten the distance in between your feet if this is too much. Tuck your pelvic floor here a little bit, or pelvis underneath yourself. Reaching your hands down, lifting the back heel off, and then step to the front. And then we'll repeat some of this. Fold forward. Inhale, arms up and out to the side. Exhale as you grasp your hand, move your spine back. Inhale, reaching up. Exhaling, going for a small back bend. Inhale, straighten your spine. Exhale, fold forward. Getting ready for your left leg. Move it up and back. No need to follow the breath yet. Lowering it down. Make sure you still have hip width distance in between the heels. Look to the front. Lift up through the front thigh. Reach up to your warrior one. Arms are moving up. Again, lean forward, engaging your core as your hands reach down. Heel off the mat, step to the front, fold forward. And let's just move here slowly. If it doesn't fit with the breath that I'm cueing, just move. Now inhale, reach up, maybe eyes, and exhale, grasp your hands. Small forward fold, actually. Inhaling up, exhaling back bend. Straighten your spine as you inhale. Slowly move to the front, exhale. Half lift, inhale, right leg moves back. Exhale, lowering it down in a warrior one position. Inhaling, reaching your arms up. And exhaling, staying here. Inhaling again, preparing to move to the front. Exhale, fold forward. Mountain inhale, arms out. Huge exhale. If you want to use your Ujjayi breath, welcome to do that. Reaching up. Elbows out, stretch also the front of the chest. Arms up. Folding forward. Left leg this time, half lift as you move your left leg back. Beautiful. Reaching up, inhale. Staying here for your exhale. To the front, inhale. One more time through on each side, fold forward. Reaching up, arms out. Grasp your hands, exhale, move your back. Reaching up. Elbows out, moving your elbows maybe behind your ears. You don't have to do a big back bend. Straighten your spine. Fold forward. Half lift right leg up and back. Reaching through the front thigh, lifting up. Exhaling deeply, maybe letting go. Stepping it to the front. Fold forward. One more time through cross position. Shoulders back. Reaching up. Opening up your heart in the back bend. Straighten your spine. Fold forward. Half lift, left leg up and back. Look to the front, inhaling up. Exhaling. We're going to step back into our down dog. So hands down, lift the back heel up, then step back, down dog. Last bit, that's warming up our body. Move from down dog with maybe quite a bit of bended knees. It's important that your spine is straight. Move there into plank pose. Maybe you kind of wave your way ahead, moving your hip up and back, down dog. Maybe on your out breath, so you can move with your breath if possible. Inhale. If you don't do a plank, just come down in tabletop instead. Just as nice. A few more times. Keep moving, even though I'm not saying anything. Last time. And then child's pose. Bend your knees and get some distance in between the knees. This is way nicer that there's space for everything here. Let your hip move back towards your heel, forehead on the mat, and you can have your hands to the front or just behind you, whatever suits you. If this is not a great pose for your knees or something else, just come down on your belly and listen for these few verses. Remember the context of leprosy, living outside, not touching. One day in one of the villages, there was a man covered with. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him in prayer and said, "If you want to, you can cleanse me." Jesus put out his hand, touched him, and said, "I want to. Be clean." Then and there, his skin was smooth. The leprosy was gone. To picture this, man full of wounds, shouting out to Jesus, "Help me." And as Jesus walked close to the man, probably his friends were like, "Don't touch him, Jesus. You'll get sick." But Jesus reaches out, touches the man, and heals him. We'll keep getting back to this passage again. Take your hands to the front and slowly move into down dog for just a moment. Take your shoulders away from your ears and micro bend the elbows. And think of your spine as straight, moving your hip bone, sitting bones back and away from your hands. Navel draws towards the shin here or the thighs. but without moving your hands and feet. And stand still and breathe for 3 long breaths. Moving into our next pose. Right leg lifts up just to move the right leg in between our hands. So step it through. Lower down the hip. Now, warrior one, we did that before, so let's do that one again. Foot out. If you can't do it, you can always do your high lunge foot where the heel is off. So it's a matter of what your ankle is like. So when you're ready, lift up. In your warrior one, arms reaching up. And again, pelvis here, don't shoot it back. Want to tuck it in underneath your shoulders. Trying to close your hip so your hip is somewhat aligned with the short end of the mat. Feeling your breath through your nose, out through your nose. Now take your hands and do a prayer pose in front of your chest. Your thumb is somewhat here in front of your chest and your arm is horizontal. So it's pretty important you don't lift up here. Let your palms reach towards each other, so engage your shoulders, your arms. Let's do a little bit of a twist. So your right leg is in front and then move gently, just a tiny bit to your right side. And maybe you feel your hip flexors or SOS being stretched even more. And breathe into the front thigh. That's probably getting pretty fatigued right now. All right, that was just for a little bit. Hands down. Oh, time to lift the back heel off. And let's play with a little bit of balance. So move your hands further to the front. Lift the back heel off so that the hips here are aligned and the heel is moving up, toes pointing down. Now stay here or do your half moon with a twist. So left leg is up and then listen. Right arm reaches up. So trying to open up the shoulders. Left leg, right arm up. That will be half moon with a twist. Of course, just stay with the hands down if that's better. Hard pose, so remember to breathe even though you might be shaking in your breath. One more big inhale and outhale, out breath. Fingers down. Now take this left leg and move it to the front, just standing on the top end of the mat, but then crossing your leg as you reach up your toes. So your left leg is crossed over. Arms reaching up and take a hold of your left wrist. Move to your right side for that side stretch for your left side body. And your hip will move to your left side as your arms reach to your right. Again, notice if your shoulders are not aligned with either the long or the short end of the mat. Probably the short end, depending on how you're placing your camera. And maybe you choose to look up. If you look directly into your arm, you might want to try to move the arm further back. Two more breaths. Notice your core lift up. Take your hands down. Notice the difference from left to right side. And maybe you want to go for this forward thrust. Now, if you can't reach the floor, just hold your thigh or use blocks, but fold forward as much as you can. This is a deeper hamstring stretch than it would be with your legs just beside each other. Won't stay here for that long. No hyperextending the legs, which means you kind of scoots them back. Just micro bend them as always. And then lift up. See if you can kind of get out of this pose. Walk yourself back, down dog, just to stretch and get some release. Before we do the other side, I'll have you come onto your bellies. So maybe you want to do it through a plank. And then lower down. Toenails on the mat, hands down by your side, palms facing up. So begin by rotating your shoulder blades back, squeezing them pretty firmly, lifting the hands off and lifting your chest off as much as you can. So either stay here, or if you're up for a little bit more strength, you can use your legs as well, lift them up. So whatever, again, is great for your body today. Stay here. Lift high. Keep this tension between your shoulder blades. Easier not to have it. Almost there. And let go. Stack your hands forehead on your hands, toes pointing in towards each other. And let your body kind of sink into the mat. This series is called The Wisdom of Christ. And to me, wisdom is not knowledge, it's not intelligence, it's not IQ. Wisdom is a way of saying and acting in a way that's a role model or a way that inspires others to act good. So to me, that's wisdom. That's also why I chose this passage. Jesus is not saying a whole lot of things, but he's doing something, which is, I think, amazing. And for me, that's wisdom as well. It's not all in the head or in the mind. Tuck your toes under, lift maybe through your plank if you're up for it. Take your shoulders away, elbows by your ribs. Come up on your knees and then to down dog. Kind of even out left and right side now. So left side, you can move it up and step your foot through. Warrior one on this side as well. So again, make sure you have that hip width distance in between the feet. If your heels are on the same line, it's hard to close the hips. So that's why I'm pretty on and with that one. Move your hip forward. Maybe you can self-adjust. You can always take a hand on your right hip and try to move it forward just to notice where it actually is. If you take a hold of your hip. Reach your arms up and maybe look down towards the front knee there. Is it moving in? Try to move it out towards the pinky toe for best knee and ankle alignment. Again, your breath going in deeply. Notice if there's anything that doesn't feel good in your body. Is there any adjustment you need to do? Hands in prayer pose in front of your chest. Maybe you want to roll your shoulders up and back just to make sure that they're really in the right place. As before, palms pretty firmly together. And then move, twisting ever so small and gently to your left side. Spine is tall. And if you feel a little bit of balance element here, you are feeling it, as many of us are. There is a lot of balance. Moving back to center. Hands down. Heel off the mat. Are you ready for our balance pose? So this is the right leg. We're going to move up this time. Make sure you don't forward fold. Lift up your spine as much as you can. Take a look at the back foot. Feet towards the floor. Hips close. You can always notice with your hands where your hip is. Look down in front of your foot. Now this distance here is not that long. So don't be too short or don't be too far away from your foot. Right leg up, left arm reaches up. Try to draw this shoulder that's underneath yourself further down and the top shoulder further up. When you've seen what we're going to do, just look at the floor. Don't look up unless you feel certain that you can keep your balance. Only 2 more breaths. Both hands down. Slowly move the right leg to the front. Maybe you want to stand up in mountain pose before you cross. Right leg on top. Left. Don't stand too narrow. Get a little bit of distance and plant the feet as much as you can down in the mat. Arm reaches up. Hold your wrist. And I'm going to do that so you can pull the arm a little bit to your left side so that you'll get a stretch also here on your shoulder and as well on your side body down towards your lumbar spine. Noticing if you're placing all of your weight, maybe on your left foot or on your right, on the heel on the front of the foot. You will have a little bit, probably more weight on your left foot, but don't overdo it. And again, option of looking up. Last big breath. Using your abdomen to pull you up. And as we did before, uncross your legs or just fall forward with legs crossed, inner thighs together, leaning forward, finding your thigh or the floor. Relax your neck. To me, there's 2 parts of this story. One part is the part that Jesus is saying, I want to be clean. I'll be healed. So that word is actually double folded. So one thing is physical healing. But another aspect is that one with, well, it's your fault that you're sick. Somehow Jesus is cleaning the slate and saying, it's not his fault. It's not that if you've got cancer or any disease that you did something. Sure, you can make healthy choices and all that, but it's not your fault. So lift up, step your feet back into down dog. Tension out. When ready, child's pose again. Forehead on the mat, hip move back towards your heels, and maybe you want to let your palms reach up this time. And if you can recognize guilt or that bad conscience that if I just choose differently, if I just did that and that, things would not have happened. It's my fault. Maybe you surrender that to God. I'm not saying you shouldn't ask for forgiveness. Maybe you need to ask for forgiveness. But then you are also forgiven. And the fault is removed. And maybe you need to remind yourself of this, I believe, this wisdom or truth lots of times during your day. Come up on tabletop. Move your spine. Gonna do some deep stretching now. The first one is Pigeon Pose. Now, my knees are not particularly fond of that, but I'll guide you into it. And if you have knee injuries, just take a look and be patient. Now, your right leg, actually, I'd like to move into it from down dog. There's more space. Your right leg moves to the front. Now, traditional Pigeon Pose, the shin here would be aligned with the short end of the mat. My hip will not allow that, so I have to bend my knee quite a bit more. So I'm just going to move here so you can better see. Then point your toe. That will give a little bit more movement options for your knee so that your meniscus is not as much in risk of being hurt. And instead of lifting the foot and move it to the front, just move the back knee further back if that makes sense. Stay here or go into your sleeping eagle, or not eagle, pigeon, different bird. Now, if you have any issues with your knees, come down and do the reversed pigeon pose that looks like this. Right leg out to the side. Deep breaths. As we slowly move out of pigeon pose, come up on your hands. If you're resting on your back, just stay on your back. Now, don't put weight on the bended knee. Instead, tuck the back foot under. Use your hands, lift up through the hands, move the bended knee back. And again, option of stretching, moving any parts that are a little bit sore from that stretch. And then the opposite side. Remember, the toes pointed. If your hip is not flexed, to move the back foot further back. And a pigeon stretch can definitely be up here. There's no fault here. Or it can be further down. Or just on your back. Another aspect of this story that I like, one thing that Jesus is kind of with his action telling and showing people that diseases and illnesses are not our personal faults. It's, I believe, due to us living in a sinful, broken, unharmonic world. And one day, God will restore the world, create balance. That'll be in heaven. But the other aspect is that Jesus is touching the man. The story says he was full of leprosy, so he was probably looking pretty disgusting, actually, to be honest. Nobody has touched this man for years. And I think there's so much symbolic saying that Jesus is not just speaking words, he's reaching his hand out, touching the man. And that's a sign of love, empathy. Picture how that man would have felt. Moving out of pigeon pose this time, just sit down on your hip. And if you're rested, please sit up again just for a little bit of a neck stretch. Take your left hand and reach for your right ear. And then move your head to your left side. Now this free arm, options of taking it down here to the floor are actually preferred behind me for deepening the stretch over the neck and the top of the trapezius muscle and down over the deltoid. Sit tall. And again, maybe picture the image of the situation of the story. Put your head up and back and slowly, don't need to shake things out a little bit. So maybe there are parts in our lives where we can identify a little bit with the man of leprosy. Maybe not in everyday life, but we might feel that parts of our lives or our history that are just somehow disgusting or in need of healing. And Jesus is reaching out his hands, not only to the people with leprosy, but also, I believe, to you and me. Move your head up and back. Maybe doing a little bit of motions with your neck. Seated butterfly pose. Sole of the foot together, or the feet together. Now don't draw your feet too close, as I would like us to take our hands here behind us, and instead of pulling the feet closer, moving our hip closer towards your feet. So you lift up your hip, and however close you want to move it, move them out. Maybe you feel like, oh, that intensifies things a little bit on your inner thigh. Have to stay here with your hands behind you, moving your chest more to the front than your head, so you're not rounding your back. Or if it makes more sense, take a hold of your feet, let the ball there of the feet move further apart from each other to further stretch the inner thigh adductors. We are going to come down on the mat. If you feel like you're getting cold, you might want to bring socks or a blanket or something that works for you. Gather your knees. And come down on your back. Knees, if you're like happy baby, you can do that. Or if there's any that you just need to do, that might be plow pose if you're used to yoga. So we'll have a little bit of time for meditation and rest, 5 or 6 minutes. So stretch out your legs and find resting pose on your mat. I'm just going to turn the music a little bit down. So feet moving out ever so tightly, or just a little bit out to the side. And hands, of course, are resting also on the floor, palms facing up, nose pointing towards the sky. As we did in the beginning of the class, inhale, filling your lungs with air. Maybe hold the breath just, and then exhaling out through your mouth, letting it all out. Do that 1 or 2 more times. head, a place between your eyebrows. Jaws, maybe open your mouth a little bit. Let the tongue kind of fall down from the top of the mouth, the roof of the mouth. And I'll invite you into a small visual meditation. So picture yourself being this woman or this man by the street, distant from people, and you see Jesus far away. And all of a sudden, this kind of hope in your heart starts to rise. You know it's forbidden, but you still get up on your feet and walk closer to Jesus. And probably still some distance away from Jesus, you start calling out, saying, Jesus, help me. And then picture Jesus all of a sudden turning his attention towards you. And maybe you feel his eyes finding yours, looking at you, seeing through you, like there is nothing to hide. But somehow there's nothing to be ashamed of. And with a smile on his face, Jesus approaches you. And maybe stop pretty close to you and give you time to ask what you need from him. To take a moment, maybe with sights, maybe with words, say what you need from Jesus right now. What are you longing for? Reaching out, maybe touching your shoulders like a friend would. Maybe lifting your head up again so you can look him in the eye. And picture Jesus saying, I hear you. I will help you. I will heal you. So be patient, my child. I love you. I have never left you, and I will never leave you. And receive these words of encouragement to your body, soul, and mind. And maybe during times in your life when things get tough, use this picture, this image, or read this passage and know that Jesus is reaching out to you, to me, and to all of those that we know of who's in need of his help. He is there. Of course, you're welcome. And maybe you need to stay here on the mat and just stay in the image for a little bit longer. But if you're ready, move your fingers and toes. Move more of your body. Open up your eyes and find a seat. From my heart to your heart, blessings and wisdom on your path today and the days to come. Thank you so much for joining. Amen. So welcome to stay on your mat. I'll stop the live recording now. Always to leave a comment and video for that matter. Thank you. And see you on Zoom, those of you who are here in the class.